From Software, best known for their Souls games like Dark Souls, Demon Souls, and Bloodborne, released their most recent Souls-style game called Sekiro: Shadows Die Twice. Dark Souls released in 2011 for the Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and PC. I had not played the game for about a year or two until a buddy of mine suggested it to me. I bought it, popped it in, and was blown away by how hard and how crazy the game was. I remember cracking out a guide almost right away, which is something I did again when I got around to playing Dark Souls 2, which was released for the Xbox 360, PC, and PlayStation 3, all in the year 2014. However, I did not play it until I was released on the PS4 and Xbox One with all the DLC and the changed difficulty. While it's not my favorite in the series, I still had a lot of fun with the game. Then we got Bloodborne, a different type of Souls game, released exclusively for the PS4 in 2015. This game was set in a Victorian England setting, with the main focus of combat being dodging and counterattacking your enemy. Then we got the final Dark Souls 3, released in 2016, the Xbox One, PS4, and PC. I loved the game. It was a lot of fun like the first one, although they also changed a lot of things that were kind of issues of the first game, or the second game. Then finally this year, in 2019, we got Sekiro: Shadow Die Twice. Should a shadow keep coming back from the dead, or should it commit seppuku? Let's find out in this week's episode of Kind of Late Reviews. This game takes place in feudal Japan, where you play as a shinobi known as Wolf, by most, and named Sekiro by the lord of the land in Ashina, which is the area that the game takes place in. Wolf serves his young master, the Divine Heir, a young boy who has dragon blood in his veins. He bestows upon Wolf the power to come back again from the dead so he may continue to serve and protect him. The main idea of the story is to try and find a way to stop anyone from being able to use this power of the dragon blood and to stop disrupting the order of life. This will put our hero into a few different choices he can make to try and help or ruin the young master. Along the way, he'll meet a cast of interesting characters and even more that you want to kill. The art is about what you would expect from Software. Everything is dark feeling, yet also has a touch of hope and beauty to everything. The character design is impressive looking, better than ever. The areas are all heavily inspired by Japan and look fantastic. The armor and weapons look so real that you could cut at you in real life. The enemy designs are great, they're not varied as much as some of the other games, but it also works since they're all part of an army. The menus are real nice and simple, easy to understand and use. Other visuals in the game, like being able to see when an idol to rest at is nearby, is nice, along with when you can do a backstab on an enemy. Particle effects are fantastic, especially fire and blood effects. Wolf can get covered in a lot of blood depending on who and how big the enemy is that he killed. The sound design in this game is totally on point. I played the game in its Japanese dialogue where all the voices were done great, from the way they talk to the simple breathing noises made during combat. Speaking of combat, the sound of two swords colliding while fighting for your life is so real. Every hit feels like it has power behind it, and it's heard real well when the enemy or you does a perfect block. The sound the game makes when you do a visceral attack is so gratifying it makes you want to do them all the time, which you'll be doing a lot since you have to do that to kill most things in the game. The sound of the blood spraying at the enemies is just crazy to hear and see. One of the most interesting things to me is how the combat music changes for each area that you are in and makes it sound and feel like it belongs in that area. Gameplay is very different compared to all the other Souls games. The first big thing is the dedicated jump button. I love having the ability to jump whenever and wherever I want. It helps traversing the game in so many ways. It can also be used in combat to dodge low swinging attacks or to jump off an enemy's head. There is now a posture meter in place of the stamina meter, but you and the enemy has one. Break their posture and you get a quick kill on them, but they can do the same to you. Mastering this is harder than you think it would be. Timing your blocks and attacks are hard enough, but then your enemy can also throw unblockable attacks at you and really ruin your day if you're not fast enough to act. This changes up how you approach an enemy and how you learn their different patterns. It was also the main cause of my death many times. I should change the game's name to Sekiro: Kyle Dies several times. Death has changed quite a bit, as you don't necessarily lose your progress on the first death. You can resurrect yourself once during combat, throwing you back into the action right away and possibly just coming out on top. However, this comes at a few prices every time you die. It borrows life force from the people around you, giving them a disease called dragon rot. It causes them to cough up blood like tuberculosis. I never waited too long to cure people of dragon rot, as this also affects Sekiro and the ability to get unseen aid. The Unseen Aid allows your character to come back from a real death without paying the cost, which, if you die again, you lose half of your money and experience gained, all the way up to the point, making death a serious matter this time around. Resting at idle works like a bonfire does. It restores your health gourd, the Estus flask of this game, and gives you 1 revival back to use if you already used it. Also bring back anyone else you've killed except for any bosses or mini-bosses you killed already. Gone is the heavy RPG elements of the Souls games. Now all you can do is level up your strength with the use of memories from big boss fights that you've won. Your health and posture goes up from prayer beads found in the game or dropped by some of the mini-bosses in the game. Along with all this, it allows a change in combat. It's all about blocking and attacking after blocking your enemy. Damage is a secondary thing now, as your goal is to break your enemy's posture first to win the fight. Along with that, you can do stealth kills by sneaking up on an enemy, or by dropping down on them from above. You can even do it to some bosses and skip a phase in the fight, which is a really cool mechanic. You also have a prosthetic arm, so that your left arm was cut off early in the game. This opens up the game in a bit of terms of traversal, as you can zip around easily to the rooftops. You can also be outfitted with different mods to help in combat. The 3 I used the most was the spear arm, the axe arm, and the firecracker arm. Each did different things in different areas, but they were most effective against certain bosses in the game. Finally, the story was a bit of a split in how it worked out. There's 3 good endings and 1 bad ending. The bad ending essentially cuts the game down by 1/4 of the story, losing out on a few areas. One final feature I find interesting and loved and wish the other Souls game had was the ability to not fully walk off the edge of a cliff to your death unless you force yourself off, which is a nice touch, and should be a feature from now on. I was so tired of falling off cliffs on accident all the time. Any issues I have with this game are of my own fault. At first I found the game to be perfect, however as I got further into the game I found more problems with the way I played the game. I had to change up and learn to fight the enemies the way I was intended, especially for the last boss of the good endings. Which I also had a bit of an issue with the first time I fought, and won against the final boss. I probably died around 50 times and had taken about 6 hours over 3 days playtime. Once I learned his patterns and how to fight him though, I found him to be one of the easiest bosses in the game. Which ended up making me a bit sad knowing after my first playthrough that this game is actually not that hard, and I only made it hard by not trying to adapt and learn the ways of a shinobi. The game did have a few hiccups in frame rate, yet it never hurt the experience. Sekiro, Shadow Dies Twice is a crazy good game. It looks wonderful, and each area feels like it was made with love. The characters and story are much more straightforward. The sound of swords clashing in harmony is like music to my ears. The gameplay mechanics are all built solid on top of what was already there from the other Souls games. The only issues I had were a few frame rate drops and my own inability to adapt and change to the game's style. Overall, Sekiro is a wonderful game, and any fan of Souls or any of the Tenchu games will enjoy this game. After finishing Sekiro on my PC, I had gotten every single Steam achievement, played the game on a total of 60 hours on the dot, and slayed the secret boss a total of 3 times in 4 playthroughs, each time fighting him also getting easier and easier. Thank you for your time. I appreciate you valuing my opinion of this game. If you liked this video, don't forget that subscribe button for me. Hit that like button, it helps out the channel. Share this video with your friends and family and even your pets. Let me know what you think about Sekiro, Shadows Die Twice in the comments below. Or late for my next review. See you then.